Oh boy, Sonic the Hedgehog movie. You know guys, I've been around for a short amount of time, but in that time I have seen multiple revisions to the blue blur and his design for the masses. Like, Sonic the Hedgehog has been redesigned so much, I still very vividly remember when people did not like the Sonic Boom designs because his arms were skin colored and not blue. Yeah, that was one of the main complaints. Also, they didn't like all the running tape that Sonic the Hedgehog was wearing. Also, I don't know why they decided to put running tape on Sonic the Hedgehog either. I just didn't see it as much of an issue. Like, he's a hedgehog that talks and eats chili dogs. Does it really matter how much fucking tape he wears? Sonic is weird and interesting because there's just something so, like, weird about him being a completely focus tested and marketed character. Like, he was not made to be engaging, he was made to sell products, and that makes him pretty interesting in my opinion. Like, Sonic the Hedgehog is a brand. He is very much a brand compared to Mario, who definitely has some regular character quirks aside from being a marketable brand. Like, do you guys remember the time that Sonic the Hedgehog was in a band with his brother and sister? Oh wait, you didn't even know that Sonic had a brother and sister apparently. Yes, he was in a band, and every episode of the TV show, they would sing a different song. Also, the theme song slapped. Also, they never found their mom, which is in the theme song, so, you know, that's kind of sad. In my humble opinion, right, in my clearly professional opinion, I think Sonic is a bit of a focus-tested disaster. I feel like they never know what they want to do with him, right? Like, why does a hedgehog eat chili dogs? Like, when was the last time you saw a hedgehog eat a chili dog? Have you seen a hedgehog? They're cute, but I think they'll die if you give them a chili dog. Another one of my favorite Sonic redesigns was the redesign for Sonic Riders, right? This design featured anime goggles, because that's how you know somebody's important, is that they have goggles and they're adventurous. And then also, Sonic was on a hoverboard. If you can't get any more extreme and radical than that, I don't know what can. Oh yeah, and then there was that whole Shadow the Hedgehog thing.
I'm making fucking mac and cheese, and nobody can stop!
Man, that game was very, very strange. You know, the whole idea of a black hedgehog shooting a blue hedgehog with his SMG that he cocked like a shotgun always just doesn't resonate with me at all and makes no sense. But when I was 13, you bet sure as hell that I thought Shadow the Hedgehog was the coolest thing ever, because he didn't drive a car, he drove a motorcycle, because he's a badass. So here we are today with weird human-like legs and CGI G-Force Sonic the Hedgehog. Okay, so I think I should talk about the redesign at least a little bit, because this thing is interesting. You know, I'm actually not opposed to it. I have no problem with Sonic the Hedgehog looking like a real person. Except, you know, he's a hedgehog, and he should probably just be animated. You know, it's kind of a shame that everything has to be CGI, because I think Sonic the Hedgehog would really do well with a kind of Who Framed Roger Rabbit-esque appearance to it. They'd never do that, though. That movie would be incredibly expensive. It just wouldn't happen. But I would love to have that, like, exist. I think it would be a great movie, and it would really just make me feel good, because every time I go see a movie, the movie's boring. Point of the matter here is that somebody somewhere is going to be annoyed with Sonic the Hedgehog, and a lot of people say that this redesign looks gross and creepy and weird. Also, remember Sammy, the classic Sonic fan? Yeah, he's in college now, so I bet you feel old, because I sure did when I found out that Sammy was in college. My internet memes, they grow up so fast. You know, but I looked around at the Sonic fandom, and really people had very conflicting emotions about this new Sonic redesign. And, you know, I get that. Every time there is a redesign, people don't like it, you know? But what's so interesting about this is that I look around and I'm like, I wonder if there are any other Sonic movies out there. Oh, and don't you worry, I found some Sonic the Hedgehog movies that were out there, so maybe we can look at these movies and see, maybe this is what this movie with Chris Pratt is gonna be like. Also, Chris Pratt is in this Sonic the Hedgehog movie, I think. I don't know, I'm pretty sure it is. Jim Carrey's Dr. Robotnik. Weird choice, but I see Jim Carrey as Dr. Robotnik. That makes sense. Chris Pratt, just, why is he in the movie? Nobody cares. Sega! Oh boy! So this is a classic internet staple of a video. This thing is sitting at around 30 million views. It is a submission to a Sonic fan film competition. Now, obviously, this sits in an uncanny room-like Valley, where almost as if Tommy Wiseau was a teenage boy, he made a Sonic the fan film. Man, this is aged gracefully like fine wine. We're gonna enjoy this. So allow me to get filmic on you, right? I'm gonna point out something that I'm pretty sure is a little obvious, but might be a little hard for some of you to notice. Is that television is not on. At least it's not on Sonic the Hedgehog. It might be on a blue or green screen, but that TV is not on. The reason I say it looks like a blue screen is because in the leftmost corner of the frame you can see a mirror, and in that mirror you see the boy's face lit up by blue. And yes, I know Sonic is blue. It makes sense. Blah blah blah. But it's a different shade of blue, and it's very clearly a blue screen because that TV screen looks 100 times more in focus and clear and more beautiful than two boys sitting on either side of the frame. I just found that was an interesting hiccup in this. So, you know, that's in like 720p and they're like in 360p, but that's great.
Oh, you are not getting in the lead. I am miles per hour and I'm taking the lead.
You know, I don't want to be mean, but I am. But I've noticed something, right? Where you get a lot of these, like, interesting, kind of mildly cringy Sonic fans, right? And I've met people like this, especially when I used to work in, like, video games, where they're fans of Sonic and thus, as a result, talk like Sonic. You know, but they don't really have the charisma that Sonic has, so it just comes off as, like, this kind of off-kilter Sonic the Hedgehog impression. You know what I mean. You've seen it before. It's like they go up to do a presentation in front of the class and they're like, "All right, guys, today my presentation is on why Sonic is actually not going faster than the speed of sound." And you're like, "What are you? You're not Sonic. You're the guy who always wears the same 3 different sweaters and they're all striped. And it's 90 degrees. Why are you wearing sweaters?" Also, can we talk about Sonic Unleashed? This is another thing with the Sonic redesigns. Why did Sonic just become a werewolf in one game? I know that there are story reasons in the games for this to happen, but like, somebody had to sit in a room and go, "This is the marketable mechanic." And then the mechanic just did not function at all. Oh, and then there was also Sonic and the Black Knight. Who thought that Sonic and swordplay would work well together? Because they don't. But I do like the music in Sonic and the Black Knight. I will say that. If there's one thing Sonic has always had, it is amazing music. Actually, I think I know why they made Sonic and the Black Knight. It's because the Knights of the Round Table and all of those stories, those are open domain. You can just use them whenever you want. That's why we always see a Robin Hood story in the movies, or we always see a King Arthur movie. It's because they're cheap to make. You don't need to pay for licensing fees, because everybody who wrote them has been dead for hundreds of years.
No! Invincibility and running shoes, beat that. Man.
There's just something so quintessentially turn of the millennium with this video. I realize that this came out in 2010, was probably filmed in like still 2010, I think so, but like there's just something so incredibly 90s 80s-esque about that clearly lower level of the house that they're sitting in. Also, it's really dark out. I could easily see something coming like out from the darkness behind them. It's just that negative space stands out so significantly. But I actually think the design of this room actually adds to the character and the flavor of this. I know it's not like they chose for the room to be that, but I really actually think it does help with like some kind of strange nostalgia factor.
You know, these new next-gen games are great, but you just can't beat this Genesis, you know? You can't beat the old Genesis.
I thought the Social Network was good with character dialogue. But this, oh, bone apple teeth, the subtext in that conversation was phenomenal. They really dug deep to really explain the differences between the Genesis and these modern Wii-based Sonic the Hedgehog games.
Yeah, but you know what? I bet Sonic 4 is gonna beat them all.
Sonic 4 did not beat them all. It was awful. Sonic 4 was a poorly controlling mess. This is why people make fun of Sonic. You know, I'm trying to come up with very analytical things to say about each scene of this movie. I really am, you know. I'm not trying to, like, just roast it, but actually give a fair shake. As much as I am being a bit, you know, haha funny about it. But, like, that, I don't got one for this scene. This scene is very interesting, I'll say that. If I were them, I probably wouldn't have the TV screen flicker, though. Mainly for epilepsy reasons. So, you know, there's that. Okay, so actually, aside from the fact that this shot is sped up as all hell, but and he's running with his arms behind his back, which do not actually make you go faster, and in fact have been shown to make you go slower. What's interesting about this shot is actually how smooth it is. I know that's weird and it's a strange thing to point out, but hear me out here, right? If they are running and he's running at normal speed, right? Somebody else has to be beside him also running or something. So either the guy's on a bike with like really thick wheels, or he's standing on a skateboard, or the ground is just really that flat, but you're still gonna see some shake. So the fact that it's so smooth is actually really amazing. Yes, I'm serious. I actually think that's pretty good. I think if this shot wasn't sped up, it actually wouldn't suck. But it is, and then it makes it look a little worse. But hey man, you do you. Maybe it's an artistic choice. You know, I think if this movie has one glaring issue with the special effects, it might actually be the fact that scale is a bit of an issue. Because when Sonic, the man Sonic, not Sonic Sonic, when Man Sonic runs behind the robots, Man Sonic is like 100 times their size, and the robots are supposed to be like bigger than man size, so the fact that man is bigger than robot, I would say is a design oversight. Maybe if they just made those robots bigger, it would have looked better, because then you would have seen him get covered up by the robots as he ran behind. But I mean, hey, again, not that bad. I understand they're like young guys. No, Shadow, stop giving me the look in the eyes. You're giving. You guys know that scene at the start of Clockwork Orange where the camera like just kind of zooms out, right? But the character is just looking dead at you, like right in the eyes. That's what I feel, because he ends that kick by just looking you in the eyes. Alright guys, so we're gonna cut right ahead to the fantasy fulfillment where the two Man Sonics run into the two Sonic Sonics. And it's a scene, alright.
Let's go crack this Eggman.
Yeah!
Come on, Shadow, let's go.
Let's get this over with.
Yo, Shadow. Catch.
Chaos control!
Oh my god. Bless these guys' heart out. They really tried hard, especially with the characters, man. The special effects on this, they really tried with how little of a budget they had, obviously. I can't even begin to tell you how they actually got the Sonic characters or all that in there, because they're pretty well placed into the scenes, all things considered. At least at this kind of like skill level, it's pretty amazing. I don't think they use like After Effects or anything, so I'm really curious like what they did. But it was very interesting to see Man Sonic pick up the Chaos Emerald, but then Shadow Sonic actually use Chaos Control. Because I clearly saw Man Sonic's skin and arm, so I knew that wasn't actually Shadow. This is really nice. You know, when I was younger, I've made things like this. Thank God none of you can see it now, so that's great. But, you know, I hope they went on to do and make some very interesting films, because there's a lot of talent here, all things considered. It might be not good. It isn't, but, like, there's a lot of attention to detail here and a lot of care and love put into it. Something that I almost for certain, like 100% agree that we will not see in the Sonic movie. I don't think the people making it actually love Sonic like a lot of the fans love Sonic. You know, which is why I think a lot of people were upset with the redesign. It just seemed like they were doing it to make a little marketable mascot rather than make Sonic, right? Because Sonic now has an identity compared to what people market him as. So that's my opinion on that, right? But before I go, I do want to talk about another Sonic fan movie, because there's been a lot of Sonic fan movies, some good, some bad. So this film is called The Hedgehog, and honestly, I think there's a lot of love put into this movie, and it actually says something about the character and the importance of the character. So before we move on, spoilers for The Hedgehog. If you want to go see it, you can go find it online. It's called The Hedgehog. It's by Chris Lee and Paul Story. They're indie film creators, and this is actually pretty interesting. So I recommend you watch it, but if you'd like to stick around, we're going to talk about it. So The Hedgehog is actually more of a kind of Sonic the Hedgehog himself, the creation, the character, right, doesn't exist in this movie, right? He is more of a idea that gives someone comfort, right? So in this, the main character, which is a boy, is actually, well, the young version of an old man, right? And what this tells the viewers is that Sonic the Hedgehog gave this older man a lot of comfort in his youth, which I think is something that resonates with a lot of people who play games, or a lot of people who have kind of grown attached to certain characters. What happens in the story, I'm not going to tell you, but I am going to tell you those two characters are related very significantly in this. It's also a very sad story, right? Because this man is at a point in his life where that is his only friend, right? So that's something that he is dealing with. That's where the conflict in this movie comes from, and that significant mix between the two is why that connection between Sonic and the old man is important. You can tell it's an indie film. It says it really just very plainly with how it looks, but it actually says something very significant about Sonic and all of that. I don't want to say anything else about it because I think it's more impactful for you to watch it, but that's what I am going to say with that. It's a very personal conflict, and it really shows you why people are attached to those characters and why that might be something that matters so significantly to them. Especially when you see like somebody get angry about something on the internet, it might show a bit of a connection there. But yeah, it's going to explore themes of loneliness and sadness and, you know, that kind of connection that we have with characters like Sonic the Hedgehog. So with that said right there, hey man, go watch that movie. And in the meantime, go look at some other weird, cringy Sonic fan movies, because they're made with a lot of passion. And if there's one thing I don't think the Sonic movie will have, it's that, right? And also, while you're at it, if you haven't done so, Google your name followed by The Hedgehog. You're gonna get your very own Sonic Sona. So I want to see your Sonic Sonas tweeted at me, at FPS Diesel over on Twitter. Best one gets just recognition of being the funniest, okay? That's it. Oh, well, until next time, guys, you can find me over on the internet everywhere at FPS Diesel, over on Instagram at FPS Diesel, and over here on FPS Diesel. Make sure to hit the subscribe button for more interesting internet like this.